I would consider myself pretty laid back. I have always had a lot of energy. I joke that that's one of my spiritual gifts, is just energy. Well, that's not in the Bible anywhere. I got saved when I was 6, and so I've never not believed. I just haven't always cared, and I haven't always pursued God. My dad was always the main focus because he was my youth pastor first, and then he became the pastor of the church, which, you know, always sets things up a little oddly because, you know, like I was one of those kids who was like trying to sneak out, like what could I do? And like I'm hiding it from my dad, but I'm also hiding it from my youth pastor. And, I remember the first time that I went to a bar and someone saw me there and told my parents, and I wasn't drinking, I was underage, but I just happened to be there to meet friends. Like for the first time, like I got up in front of the church and apologized. Late 20s, early 30s was when it became, I think, the most real, because I feel like by then, not that you're not always going through things, but you're just at a different point in your life where you've got like, not just a job or an internship, but you've got careers and you've got families and marriages, and you're just like, what do I do with that? And so all of a sudden, like the God of the Bible has to become like the right answer for you. One year, I just consistently couldn't pay my bills, and so I just kept taking all these part-time jobs, and I ended up with 9 W-2s that year when I did my taxes. And then I realized, like, why wasn't I praying about this? Honestly, I found that while I wasn't making the right amount of money, what I really found out is that I wasn't in the right career. And I just realized, like, I was bored. I was bored mentally, and that's never, I think, a good thing for a Christian. And literally, I taught my first public speaking course at Marshall University, and I was just sold. But then I moved away. That was a really good thing, because I had started to collect some friends who weren't believers, and they were obviously not living in that lifestyle at all. And so getting into the PhD program, actually, and I moved to Pittsburgh, where I knew no one. And honestly, all of a sudden, anything that had followed me from behind, it wasn't there. Relationship, not religion. Because you read it in the Bible, and I think often we get this like, he's pale-skinned, blue-eyed British accent, carrying a lamb on his shoulder, and can't bench press anything. And that often isn't a person that people want to follow. It doesn't compel me. But when I read, for instance, Beautiful Outlaw, and I see all of these different like facets of Jesus' personality, I mean, he was an interesting man. I mean, he had great stories, and he had relationships, and he had this like scandalous freedom of like touching lepers and talking to prostitutes and having dinner with tax collectors. And if we see those in the right context, it should wow us. I've been thinking about Ephesians 3:20, which I love. I think it's the amplified version of that verse, and it really says that God can do exceedingly abundantly beyond anything you hope, dream, or imagine, according to the power that's working within you, His power that's working within you. And I look at that, and that's sort of where I feel like I'm at right now. Like, I had a plan, like I wanted to be a professor, but then I got to come here to Liberty, which was never, like I just didn't think that was an option. And so I've watched God exceedingly, like, let me have like a small goal, and then He just kills it every time.